Our next gaming genre is branching pathway role-playing scenarios. So first of all, what's the concept? Well, as you know, role-playing games have been played since time immemorial, and they're among the simplest of all game genres which we could use to recreate the past. This genre is somewhat similar to the tabletop roleplay discussed in the video here, but instead of games of chance, handbooks and character sheets, this genre incorporates multiple choice question-driven branching scenarios, and it has more in common with the interactive books, early examples of which were often fantasy-based, such as Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson's fighting fantasy series of the 1970s. There are very few examples of historically accurate commercial role-playing games, but one recent contribution is Revolution, Black Friday, based around the Iranian Revolution of 1979, produced by Ink Studios. So what is the concept? Well, in this approach to the challenge of representing the past through gaming, we create historical scenarios with multiple branching pathways. This genre of game is especially good at developing empathy in the player, the ability of the player to see the past world from another individual's perspective. They can be based on primary or secondary research and thus have a potentially very high degree of accuracy and sophistication, and the game could allow the player to grapple with actual historical problems, or if not, then at least plausible problems and challenges within a realistic setting. You could, for example, design roleplays involving one character moving in a single scene or through multiple scenes, or you could have the player taking the part of multiple characters within the same scenario. Branching pathway interactive scenario games could allow for the exploration of moral problems, making choices and confronting the consequences in historical simulations. Choices and movement through the game pathways would usually be driven by multiple choice. These multiple choice questions could be very basic, directional choices for example, or they could involve authentic dialogue type interactions, or quite developed reflections on multiple options. There could be a more or less defined mission for the player to accomplish, or there could be many goals that you could design for them to follow. Through these questions, the game would solicit player responses to virtual visualizations. You could make these as realistic as you wish. In this scenario, the player would move through what would not be a true past, of course, but it could be a version of the past disciplined by the facts, like a history book. And this format could offer an interactive method of engaging with the past, including traces from the past, such as historical documents, which could be represented within the game. How would scoring work? It really depends upon what you would like to evaluate. You could, for example, test the player on the ability to empathize with the character that they play. So, for example, the multiple choice questions would then test and score the player higher for selections that are more plausible and lower for selections that are less plausible given the character they're playing. Testing could be cumulative, based on numerous selections made, or it could be based on where the player ends up in the game. Examples of software that could be used to design such a game. First, there is Twine. This is free and open source. It uses passages that could be linked, and you can add sounds and images to those. They can be expanded with CSS, and your project can be published as an interactive HTML file so that you can review the storyline and progression within it. Second, another option is ChatMapper. This supports non-linear branching. It has a conversation simulator, and it allows for the management of branches based on previous choices. Another option is Adrift. This is available for Windows and provides support for interactive story-based games. It visualizes stories in a 3D map with components you can drag around. The result is a text adventure somewhere between reading a book and playing a game. Branch Track is another option here. The Branch Track provides one means of doing this. Articulate. This is another option for you to consider. This software is powerful, highly adept at handling branching scenarios. You can add video, sound, soundtrack, though this one does require a subscription. Finally, YouTube. you can of course use linked YouTube videos to create scenarios with multiple choice question in order that the players can easily navigate around within the game.